Today, see how Tanium can enrich, enhance, and extend your Microsoft E3, E5 stack for ops and security. Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone. And for years, our customers have asked us, hey, we've got the Microsoft stack and we've got Tanium. Can you guys do something together? And we've been working together for several years, actually. People may not be aware, but this last year, we have really gotten a lot of traction, particularly. And today we want to explain how Tanium can help you get the most out of your E3 or E5 or maybe some other similar Microsoft stack or contract. But did you know that Tanium is the winner of the 2023 Microsoft US Partner of the Year Award for Rising Azure Technology? So that's a big clue as to how much we really are invested in your mutual success with Microsoft and Tanium. And today we want to get into what that actually looks like and what that means for you, what these technologies look like together. So to do that, I've invited Mike Fiorina to give us an overview on this Better Together story. So Mike, welcome to the show and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm glad to be back on the show. It's been a few months now, but so I've been with Tanium for a little over 3 years now, and I'm currently serving as the field CIO for our Microsoft strategic partnership. I've been in a variety of roles within the company in the course of my career, but for the past year and a half, I've really been centrally focused on the partnership, our integrations, working with our field and our customers and partners, and really trying to understand kind of what everybody wants to achieve out of a Microsoft partnership and a Microsoft Tanium Better Together story, along with explaining where we're heading, what the strategy looks like, what the nuances are with respect to where Microsoft plays in the industry, where Tanium fits in, and how really to stitch these solutions together in a very seamless way that will give the most value to our customers.
Well, that sounds like you and your team are really busy these days. So kind of walk us back for just a second. How did all this get started?
Yeah, so it was about 2 years ago, we started hearing from a lot of our very prominent customers that they had a huge investment in Microsoft that wasn't going away. They also saw a lot of value in what Tanium did for them, but they didn't want to be in business of making sure the products worked well together. So the vision was, hey, it would be fantastic if Microsoft and Tanium could collaborate in some way, shape, or form in order to ensure that we're getting the best out of both of these investments in our strategic portfolios. And so that's really the vision of the partnership going forward is obviously Microsoft's all in with their cloud technologies, and Tanium is super excited about what we can contribute to customers' investments there. And we think there is a lot of innovation that is yet to come, but we're already really excited about kind of how things are going so far.
Could you just speak briefly to, I know we have some new customers of Tanium who said they've just now purchased an E3 or an E5, and they're still trying to figure out what they got in that bundle. And they've bought Tanium and they want to make sure everything's plug and play there. So could you kind of speak to just an overview, E3, E5, what is that? And where does Tanium match up there? And then maybe roll into some demos.
So Microsoft packages a whole lot of technology into these various bundles that customers subscribe to, and most of it is based on their cloud investments. And so if you look at their E3 portfolio, it's typically revolved around customers continuing to use SCCM to help manage their Windows environments and Intune to help move to a more cloud-centric approach to managing Windows and mobile devices. And then you step up to their E5 suite, and that's where you start to get all in with Microsoft in the security space. So that Defender for Endpoint and Purview and using Teams to make phone calls and things like that. There's just a ton of capability that's built into those. It's difficult sometimes. Historically, I was a customer myself for a while there to get your arms around how I can take advantage of all this. There's so much good stuff there. It can be hard to get it out there sometimes just because there's so many moving parts and so many capabilities to take advantage of. How do I ensure I'm getting the most out of this investment? And so that's part of our strategy, is to ensure that customers, for anything that's endpoint centric, that's in our purview, we want to help ensure that customers are fully deployed on their Microsoft solutions, so they're getting the maximum value out of that investment in Microsoft. And then, oh, by the way, Tanium has a whole lot of extra stuff that we can add on top of it to really make everything kind of shine from end to end and give you that complete ability to control and maximize all of the stuff that you're doing around every endpoint in your environment.
I've said on the show several times, I just crossed the 6-year mark here at Tanium. And from the very beginning, we've always had custom content, to help look at, are your SCCM endpoints or config man, endpoints pointing correctly to the right resources, and are they healthy, and how can we fix WMI, built from that legacy of integration touch points now to everything on the endpoint and the cloud. So I'm really interested to see this. What's the most popular integration point you think among all the different offerings today?
We're still seeing a lot of market penetration for Sentinel, and I think what we've already produced there and what we're going to be introducing there down the road is pretty exciting. I think that we have this vision of making Sentinel the first real-time SIEM powered by Tanium technology. And then Zero Trust, which went generally available just within the past couple of months, really empowers customers to fully embrace the whole conditional access paradigm we're in. I could be pretty aggressive about kind of things that I want to ensure I'm evaluating on every endpoint in my environment before I give them access to sensitive applications and resources in the cloud. And using our Zero Trust solution, that allows you to really allow Tanium to customize your approach to device attestation and posture checking, and then incorporate our real-time remediation on top of it to ensure that we're really helping you through any challenges that might arise with blurring the line between security and productivity that we all balance tentatively, over the course of our daily lives.
All right, well, let's see it. I'm really interested to see, because there's so much to unpack here. We can only scratch the surface, but I'm really interested in this tour that we're about to see.
So as most of our customers know, we have a lot of touch points to Microsoft technology that have been within Tanium for a long time. So I think our vision is that Tanium can serve as almost a master agent or a control plane for your endpoints that you can then have anything right on top of, particularly Microsoft technology. So we can automatically discover every device in your environment. Then at that point, we can have a software bundle that's built around Microsoft end user productivity applications, enrollment in Defender and Intune, and installation of the SCCM client on top of that, so that every device that's in the environment we'll ensure it's got all the right Microsoft tools on them. We can control all the policies associated with it and enforce. And that's all been in the product for a long time now, and we've been continually investing in that to ensure that is a really mature approach to managing endpoints. But then what we've really seen has been pretty popular lately is this concept of folks that are really starting to venture down the path with Defender for Endpoint. So it's been an EDR solution for Microsoft for a number of years, and it's come a long way from where it started and to be one of the marketplace leaders. And there's a definite area of investment for us in that we can help customers with that journey to roll out Defender, to approach this from a life cycle perspective. So you can look at your readiness, then we can help you adopt the solution, and then we can help you monitor it. So we built a lot of content reporting, similar to what we did with SCCM back in the original days. Was we want to show you exactly what's going on in every device in the environment. So these dashboards are available for any customer to import now, and they'll be part of the managed reports that are going to be rolling out to every cloud customer as time goes on. But the vision here again is we're going to show you the state of your environment right now. This is a readiness dashboard. This shows, are there any third-party antivirus solutions that are out there that you probably want to remove before you go too far with a Defender rollout? And we'll show you and we'll highlight any issues that might prevent you from being globally successful with Defender, to say, hey, there's some old versions of Windows that are out there that you're going to need to figure out how you're going to get coverage for those, or unsupported distributions of Linux, or older versions of Mac OS and the like. So that you can have a really good picture of how successful am I going to be before I go too far down this path. And then we'll also show you that historically, how the things looking from a performance perspective. We think Defender is a really strong EDR product that actually, since it's built into the operating system for Windows, will probably reduce the performance footprint that security tools put on your endpoints compared to what you might have been using previously. But we want to highlight where you're at now, so you can see, are there any systems that may be overloaded that we want to take a look at? Maybe there's a hardware refresh opportunity, something along those lines. So giving you that full vision of like, all right, preparing us for this type of rollout and adoption, we want to give you that visibility to show you exactly where things stand before you go too far.
Yeah, this is just classic Tanium visibility right here. And with the dashboards that have really become so popular over the last year, you can put anything you need to see in there to kind of get the lay of the land. And I know customers that use this type of visibility for their migrations and their deployments to see, okay, how many clients are still out there in the environment with one of these legacy AV tools, for example.
Exactly. And then the next step of the journey is going to be adoption. So the ability to be able to say, all right, I'm prepared, I'm ready to go, I have all the information that I need to proceed, but now how do I actually get it out there? in some customers, this might be a pretty simple and easy thing. If you got a well-tuned environment that's pretty much Windows centric, this is not too difficult. But for the customers that are a little bit larger, maybe have a pretty big investment in Mac OS and Linux and other things, rolling out those dependencies and make sure this all goes smoothly might be a little bit more of an undertaking for a lot of organizations. And so what we provide you with here is this idea of, hey, we're going to show you and highlight where you're at in your adoption journey. We can show you we're really good at managing multiple tenants for those bigger customers that have multiple M365 tenants. Then Tanium represents a really good way to manage the rollout and monitoring of Defender here that Microsoft may not provide natively. We're going to show you over time how things are going. How's that rollout progressing? And then also, again, showing you things like, all right, are there any of those third-party antivirus solutions I need to get my arms around before I can proceed too far? And then I can show you where's Defender installed, where is it not, how many systems are ready to go. And then not only is this, that visibility approach to it, but it's built-in actionability along with it. So the ability to right within this dashboard, which most people would think is just a report, right? No, this is more. This is the ability to click this, and I'm going to go through and using our core content, start to roll out the Defender agent and onboard devices to my tenant. And so that's what's really compelling about this is it's not just reporting, but this is also helping you kind of get through the journey directly with Tanium actions and packages. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I remember working with a customer a few years ago, and they were trying to unquarantine files on their endpoints. And Microsoft had an executable to do that, but no way to do it from a console. And they were able to wrap that into a Tanium package and deploy that as needed across the environment using Tanium. So you've got that real time, visibility and control, and we can kind of help enhance some of those areas. Because you and I both used to work for Microsoft, and I remember when we were there that they would say, we've got limited development resources like everybody else in the world, and we'll build so much, and then we'll leave place for the other vendors to kind of move in and help complete that vision. So that's really what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Microsoft knows they can't be all things to all people and cater to every single possible customer scenario. And so that's where folks like Tanium can come in and really drill down into some of the specifics and help overcome any kind of obstacles or hurdles that are in the way of being successful. All right. And then the last step of the Defender journey, once you've actually deployed it everywhere, then how is it going? Is it healthy? Is it deployed everywhere it's supposed to be? If it's not healthy, why is it not healthy? Is it something to do with signatures, or is there a service problem, or maybe my scans aren't completing for some reason? We're going to give some really low level visibility into every element of the Defender stack on all of your endpoints to show you what's the breakdown of versions. Do I have a pretty good strategy for deploying all of my signatures and updates so that I've got a pretty standard approach to, all right, I've got pretty much everybody on a single version of these things? Or is there a lot of spread, which means maybe I have some challenges for manageability that I need to get my arms around? But the overall investment here from us is to help customers and tell them and show them, hey, Defender's everywhere it's supposed to be. It's operating at peak efficiency. If it's not in certain instances, help you get through those, triage that, and remediate it really quickly so that you're getting the most out of that investment, which is really kind of the linchpin of E5 is really being able to take advantage of Defender, have it be that first line of defense from a security standpoint for all of your customers.
Well, this is a great story around MDE. What's next?
Yeah, so Sentinel was the first thing that we actually invested in from once the Microsoft partnership was established. So Sentinel, came from nowhere to being a marketplace leader in only a few short years. And Microsoft is heavily investing in this space as a SIM SOAR platform. And a lot of customers are, if they haven't already started down this journey, are starting to look at it seriously and figure out, like, is this part of my ongoing security strategy within my organization? And so this was an easy win for us to be able to say, just based on the kind of open architecture of Sentinel and SIMs in general, to be able to incorporate data from sources like Tanium, which we can do with any SIM. That in and of itself isn't all that exciting. But what's really exciting about this is at an API level, we're integrating with Sentinel such that customers can take advantage of Tanium technology while staying in the Sentinel interface. So if you're a SOC analyst, an investigator, a hunter, I could be looking at this and I may say, what I see is great. I'm getting a lot of solid data from Defender and Azure Active Directory, or now known as Entra ID, and a lot of other data sources in my environment. But what if I need to know, security is really paramount in security. And so the ability to be able to say, I need to know what's happening right in this moment. If I'm looking at a particular alert, I'm probably dealing with hundreds or thousands of these things. I'm trying to figure out how to prioritize. The ability to be able to go in here and say, there's this alert that's bothering me. It's coming from a lot of different endpoints in my environment. I need to know more about these systems now. And this alert might have been fired a few hours ago, but a few hours is a lifetime sometimes in security. So the ability to be able to say, I'm going to run a playbook, which is code in the cloud, which is taking advantage of Tanium APIs in the background, talking to Tanium clients, and the ability to be able to say, you know what, I need to know more about these devices. I need to get some data enrichment in this incident I'm looking at, which could have been generated by anything in my environment. And within a few seconds, we execute that. The code's running. It's talking to Tanium. Could be Tanium in the cloud. Could be Tanium on premises. Doesn't matter. Very shortly thereafter, then I have additional information about my endpoints that shows up right within the context of this alert, which tells me more about the configuration baseline evaluation or something to do with the devices themselves and the endpoint states. I can see what the current IP address is. So you can imagine this is open-ended. This could be extended by customers to create their own playbooks, and we're going to be relying on the community to help us build this library out significantly. But you can think about things like established network connections or running services or processes or files on disk, things that people could need and want they may not get from any other tool other than Tanium. It's going to be right built in here. So super exciting to be able to deliver this, and it's been in market for a while now, and people are starting to really get on board with this concept and the ability to really kind of improve what you're able to do from within Sentinel and make it that kind of real-time SIM that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I can really see that. And that's the whole thing that's kind of pervading, I think, what you're sharing today is this is real time. And so here you just clicked it and it's brought this data back from Tanium into this case that we're tracking so quickly. And like you said, that could be any data about that endpoint that we want to retrieve. And then not only just data, I know you can also take action here, right? With some of these playbooks as well. You can quarantine and so forth. To see that all in one interface is really, really fascinating.
Exactly. And I think we see that you can do this from an ad hoc standpoint, but then you mentioned the concept of remediation, super critical and important. And that's one of the things that customers relied on Tanium for many years, the ability to say, yeah, maybe I want to use Tanium to quarantine these devices, or I want to do an artifact dump into my Azure storage account for a certain number of systems, or kill a process or stop a service. You know, we could do that easily within Tanium over thousands of systems in just a few seconds. So this really kind of amplifies customers' ability to respond to incidents as well as just enrich the data with what we provide.
Yeah, and I know you've got several things to show us. I just was thinking, it was been a couple weeks ago. We were at a local Tanium user group, and somebody did a demo of PowerBi receiving data from Tanium as well, and it was really fascinating. The visualizations they could do with this data coming straight out of Tanium.
Yeah, it's neat stuff. I mean, I think it's not obviously just us developing super cool solutions on top of Tanium data and Microsoft technology. It's the community as well. So it's exciting to see that take hold.
Yeah, what's next?
All right. So I mentioned zero trust earlier and the concept of conditional access, and customers have been going down this path for a while now. And I think when we talked to a number of customers, they said, we really like to get more aggressive about this, but we have to be careful, because if I'm interrupting somebody's day because I'm telling them their device is out of compliance, you can't access the application you need to do your job, I better be sure it's the right data, that it's not stale or old in any way, shape, or form. And I want to give them the ability to get back up and running as soon as possible. So that's the area of investment for us, is to be able to say, all right, the data that we're going to be using or giving you to use to make these conditional access decisions is going to be based on Tanium data, which we've been saying over and over again, really current, real time in nature. So the ability to be able to do that, incorporate that into your Microsoft Entra ID conditional access policies is pretty exciting stuff. So this is a conditional access policy here that I've defined, which is saying, if I'm trying to access Office 365 in my environment, I've got a couple of conditions associated with it. I'm using Microsoft's user risk that's based on their analytics of what's going on in the cloud and how identities and credentials are being used. But then there's this option for filtered devices, and this is where what we're taking advantage of here. So I have the ability to say, when a user tries to authenticate against Entra ID to get access to Office 365, I'm going to look at the status of the device in some way, shape, or form. And it's going to be based on a number of different potential things that maybe Intune is surfacing for a lot of customers. But then Microsoft makes these extension attributes available to partners like us. So these are just custom attributes that are available for all Entra ID registered or joined devices that we can take advantage of here to fill this in with any kind of arbitrary data. I have the ability to define rules within Zero Trust, which is a new shared service available to all our enforced customers, that allows me to create a entirely flexible rule. And this could be based on anything that you can imagine. So I'll just go ahead and say, let's look for any systems where BitLocker is disabled, the drives aren't encrypted. I'm going to make this an enforcement rule. We'll give you the ability to audit this so you can measure twice and clock once before making any serious decisions about how things are going to go. And then I create a rule associated with it. And this rule is going to look familiar to a lot of Tanium administrators, the ability to use any sensor that we've got to build effectively a question that's going to be asked of every endpoint on a recurring basis to say, how are things going? What's the state of this device? In my case, I'm going to look for BitLocker details. I'm going to say protection status, matches, protection off. And I could make a target list of 10, 15, 20 different things, or I could create a bunch of different rules that are looking for one particular endpoint piece of state information. It's really kind of up to you about how you want to address this. But what's nice about this is that I define this, I get a preview for any targeted endpoint, so I can see how many devices this actually affects in my environment right now. So we're pulling this information like we would any kind of question that we're asking. So I can see there's a few devices that are in this current state. And then when we actually create this rule and allow it to run, then I'm going to apply this action, which is going to modify one of my extension attributes. There's 15 available to you to pull from that we and other partners or customers can go ahead and extend. But in my case, I'm going to say this is a Tanium non-compliant device. And I'm going to dynamically remove this status if BitLocker gets turned on the system, so that I can ensure this is all automatically updating whenever systems are remediated. Then when I save this, what's happening is we're going out, we're evaluating all the systems in the environment on a recurring basis. It's using TDS as its current info about every device that's out there. And then once this runs, what happens is if I go back into my Entra ID list of devices, I might be looking at a given system, and this is where the extension attributes are listed on that system. And if I give it, I don't know, 30 to 60 seconds of waiting, then what's going to happen is we're going to be evaluating these devices. And when I get those hits for that particular status, I'm going to modify the status of that device. It's going to show me, in this case, there we go. There's my Tanium non-compliant attribute attached to it. And so once that definition has been made, I go back in here, I define my property attribute 12 equals Tanium non-compliant. And it's as simple as that. I add that, and then every time a device tries to authenticate to Office 365, if it has this particular attribute, I'm going to block access to 365 in this instance. So it's simple, it's easy to use for any Tanium administrator out there. The folks that we showed this to have been super excited about the possibilities. It's so flexible and open and current. And I could use the same expressions that I'm using to evaluate devices to create dynamic computer groups in Tanium that have automated actions attached to them as well. So I can ideally proactively address a lot of these things before I even get to the point of having to enforce a conditional access policy.
Man, I tell you what, I'm just having flashbacks after decades in the industry, and watching network access control, come to bear in the industry. And then now we're at the place where we can, in real time, see because it was always this pie in the sky idea that, hey, this machine's not healthy, but how do you get that information so fast to know, is it really healthy or not? And this, I know I do this frequently on the show. I'm just amazed as a technologist. I'm amazed at this. And it sounds like I'm tooting our own horn, but it's not that. It's just I'm looking at this from a technology perspective, thinking this really is transformational.
Yeah, it's super cool stuff. And everybody that was one of our limited availability customers and the folks that we've showed it to since it went generally available have been pretty excited about the prospect of taking advantage of it. So definitely a lot more to come. And I think there's use cases here that we're not even thinking of that people could leverage this for. So we're excited about what it unlocks for all of our customers.
Man, well, I wish we had more time. I've got my eye on the clock. What else do you have for us today before we wrap up?
Yeah, so a lot of folks are curious about what we're doing with Intune. So we view Intune as an industry-leading mobile device management platform that everybody should be taking advantage of for all the cool things they're doing for MDM and MECM of Windows, Mac, and iOS and Android devices, autopilot integration, a lot of good stuff that simply is not in our purview right now. But what we do want to do is provide customers the ability to ingest Intune data into Tanium to give them that full view so that you can see from within Tanium asset, I can get a report of all my Tanium managed devices along with all my Intune managed devices, regardless of which is the system of record for each one, so that we're giving folks the ability to have that complete picture of every device in the environment. So Intune is obviously going to be the master for certain systems. Tanium's going to be the master for other systems. We can be kind of effectively co-managing a lot of different systems as well. But it's really simple to go into Tanium Asset right now. This is available for our on-premises customers today, for our cloud customers very soon, the ability to configure an Intune source from within asset.
I'm just thinking, as a former Active Directory SME at Microsoft, a lot of machines in corporate environments are not in Active Directory. I think about, I work a lot with manufacturing companies, and sometimes they've chosen to specifically remove factory floor systems from Active Directory. And how do you manage policy on those machines? How do you make sure that they're covered right? And that's where Tanium is the better together answer here. And with Intune, different operating systems that don't classify and being suitable for Intune. So it really does give you that complete picture when you bring these two solutions together. That's what we call strategic platform partnership. So you can really get the best of both worlds. All right, Mike. So thanks for this tour. Wow, there's so much in this integration field between Tanium and Microsoft. We really have come so far from just making sure that SCCM clients are reporting incorrectly and healthy. So there's so much here on-prem and cloud. So what's coming next? What kind of hints can you give us? What can people look for?
Yeah, so a couple of months back, we announced limited availability of an Azure Migrate integration, wherein, because we're Tanium, because we're sitting on every endpoint in the environment, we have a lot of visibility into every device's footprint, kind of what's going on them, the activity level, those kinds of things. So customers who are still evaluating migrating physical or virtual systems on premises into Azure, they want to know how much it's going to cost if I do that. And so Tanium is really well equipped to be able to do that sort of thing, and we could do it without any kind of a scanner that would typically be involved in this kind of scenario. So we can provide and feed that information into the Azure Migrate service and give customers that really quick calculation of, all right, what's this virtual machine going to cost me over 1 month or 12 months. And so that's kind of interesting capability for folks that are still going down that path.
Interesting. What else we got coming?
Yeah, so you're going to hear some really interesting announcements coming out of Microsoft Ignite and Tanium Converge, both happening the same week here in a couple of months. So there's some real innovations we've been working on fast and furiously with a couple of different solutions that we can't quite talk about just yet, but you'll be hearing from us soon enough. We're thrilled to put this into customers' hands, or at least show you what we've been working on, because we think it's going to be really game-changing.
Well, Mike, that's a lot for us to look forward to. I know Converge is literally about a month away from right now when we're recording this, and we're going to hope to get this recording into people's hands so they can be ready and anticipating what's coming next there. So thanks for joining us, Mike, to give us this tour. Now, Mike also shared with me a link that I want to give you. So in the show notes below, you can check out this Microsoft Partner Spotlight on the Tanium.com webpage. There you're going to see links to things like demo videos, kind of overviews, white papers, customer stories, blog posts that explain more about any one of these particular integrations that you're interested in. There are resources there for you. Also, just a couple episodes ago on this show, we featured 3 Converge labs that are coming up. And I want to remind you of those lab names, right? So coming up at Converge here next month, go to converge.tanium.com, sign up for that virtual lab pass, and you can take these, or you can join us in person in Austin, Texas, November 13th through the 16th. So here are the 3 Microsoft labs you want to look out for. First one is called SOC Workflows, leveraging Microsoft Sentinel and Tanium. Next is Starting from Zero, Getting to Zero Trust, Tanium and Entra ID. And then the third one is using Tanium to deploy and manage Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So keep your eye out for those labs, and those labs fill up fast. I don't know how many seats we have available. So again, talk to your account team if you'd like to get a pass for those labs as well. So we've gone a little over time today, but I wanted to get all this in because I want you to see, particularly we've had questions from customers that said exactly asking this today to see this. So I've got E3 or E5. What can Tanium do for me? Do I need both of them? And here you can see there's a really good, better together story here where Tanium can help enrich, enhance, and extend that Microsoft investment. So that wraps us up for today's Tech Talk. Until next time, go Tanium.